So let's take a look at Super Off-Road The Baja, the sequel to Super Off-Road on the Super Nintendo, which is a review I released last week on my channel, and just like its predecessor, this game absolutely slaps, and even after a tough loss, I found myself always wanting to come back. So I went and revved up my big rig once again, and I kept playing it all day. So as with every racing game, you start by picking out the color of your rig, and I always either choose the color red or black because that is the most intimidating color in all of racing games. I don't make the rules. And then I selected the easy difficulty because, well, you know what it is. During the main menu, there's a pre-run where you can run any of the first 4 tracks just to get your feet wet with what you're about to experience. And then you'll have the circuit choices between Mexico, which is a quarter of the entire tracks, Ensada, which is half of them, and Baja, which is the entire circuit. So what Super Off-Road has going for it is the single screen chaos, which is so much fun with multiplayer because you can track your progress and how far you are behind, and it's just a very simple arcade racer. But the sequel, the Baja, is just as fun and addictive, but for different reasons. The screen is still fixed, but zoomed in and over the shoulder, and there is no time to breathe, ever. You are always locked in because every second matters. Making sure you don't run over somebody on an ATV, you don't hit a bush, you don't run over a cow. And now that I'm saying all this, it kind of reminds me of the streets I drive on out here in Louisiana, so I do have some sort of home field advantage. But the point is, you have to watch out all of the time. Somebody's always trying to pass you, and since the AI is faster than you, you consistently have to hit nitros at the right time. So it goes something like this: nitro, swerve, speed, nitro, swerve, speed. Plus, anytime your truck is outside of the track or on dirt or on the elements, your truck significantly slows down. So you have to keep it in between the lines of the track at all times. There is no being distracted behind the wheel. There is no time to breathe, so you cannot look away from the screen, and that's how it pulls you in for an entire circuit, and then you look back and wonder where the time has gone. While racing, you'll see your dashboard showing how fast you're going and what place you're in. And it also tells you how many nitros you have left, just like the original Super Off-Road. And also like the original, it is critically important to stay on top of how many nitros you have left because that is the key to first place. You'll also see 2 bars next to each other at the top. One is distance, which slowly fills as you progress in the race, so if it's almost all the way filled, you know that you're nearing the end of the race. As your car gets damaged from running over hazards like rocks, trees, cows, or even people, even though nobody stops the race when you run over a literal person, just a $3,000 fine will do. The race must go on. There's a $5,000 fine for animals hit and a $10,000 fine for bystanders. I don't know how running someone down while they're in a measly ATV with no protection whatsoever is somehow better, but just like fines in the real world, hardly any of them make sense. But like I was saying, the damage bar fills up as you hit obstacles, and if it fills completely, you'll be taken out of the race and you will immediately lose. How I always played it was pretty loosey-goosey at first, pedal to the metal, swerving around other cars, spamming that nitro button. But when I would look down and see my damage meter starting to creep up faster than my distance meter, I knew I was taking more damage than I should. So then I'd play it more safe, stick to normal acceleration, and just focus on keeping the truck in between the lanes. Another speed boost you can utilize is when you see a car coming up on your flank, swerve in front of them and let them bump you from behind. And that little nudge will get you some distance between you and them as you scout the road for that next nitro to really leave them in the dust. And it's moves like this that really makes you feel like a real race car driver. The controls are multifunctional. You can use A or Y for nitros, up on the D-pad or B for the accelerator, down on the D-pad or X for the brake, which you can just skip over because you will never need the brake. Anything slowing you down in this circuit will cost you first place and the fame and the glory. So just go ahead and forget that you have brakes. And the D-pad or L and R for steering, which is something I forgot to mention in my last review of Super Off-Road, but just like the original, I found more success using the D-pad only, so I stuck with that same philosophy here. And something that we could take for granted, but I just want to make mention of it here, is that the gameplay just feels very right. There's no lag, steering doesn't feel clunky, and as fast-paced and as chaotic as everything is on screen, it all feels like a very legit over-the-shoulder racing game. And so if you didn't know, Ivan Stewart is who you're racing against in the series of these games, and that's why you're getting your butt handed to you in this game by the leading car. But I was actually getting first place trophies on the sequel, so maybe I finally had old Ivan figured out. And at the end of each leg, the stats screen appears to show you how well you did time-wise and how much bonus money you picked up. If you win first place, you'll win 100K, second place, 95K, third is 92, and then so on. This, figured in with what you picked up on the track and money bags, what you lose in penalties, is your total, which you can then use in the upgrade menu to tune and beef up your truck stats. But as you can see, there's only a $5,000 difference between first and second place, and you can usually pick that up on the track if you're more careful and watchful. So I had more financial success when I just focused on earning money on the track and not getting penalized, instead of just focusing so much on winning. So playing it a little safer, making sure I don't wipe out, not losing money running over people on ATVs, I actually ended up with a bigger payout than if I just pressed the pedal to the metal, lost a bunch of money hitting obstacles, and won first place. So coming in first isn't that big of a deal. Well, unless you're me, and then there's pride involved. The pit stop is where you can upgrade your vehicle with your winnings. Tires, nitros, brakes, shocks, lights, and your engine. I will say, playing Super Off-Road before Super Off-Road, the Baja, did help me out a lot because I knew to invest in nitros. Because just like in the original, the car that's in front is absolutely overpowered. I got to the point where my car was upgraded to the absolute max, and still, pressing the gas pedal was not enough to keep with the first place car. And actually, the second place car was trying to pass me too. And I wasn't running off the road or anything like that. So it really seems like if you want to compete, and especially if you want to come in first, like I said, you have to invest in nitros. The only other way to get nitros is just like in Super Off-Road, during the race you can pick up nitros just like you can bags of cash that are spread out throughout the race. And you want to go ahead and try to collect every nitro you see because you'll need every single one that you pick up. But just know, every single time you use a nitro on an incline, there's somebody in the back that says, "Arriba!" And I will say, that gets old very fast. Also, a little advice, save them nitros for the straightaways. So many times I'd get greedy and use a nitro when I couldn't see far ahead, just for the road to cut right in front of me or somebody on the ATV not looking and be right around the corner. And I would nitro right into the back of them. Two-player is set up where one player races a leg and then player two races a leg after, which is probably the lamest way to go. Although if you're second player, there is a ghost image of player one's car so you can see where they are if you're in viewing distance, so that's a pretty cool premise. Kinda like when you played baseball in the backyard with your friends and you were short a full roster so you had ghost runners on each bag, kinda the same thing. But that'll never match the constant visible competition of Super Off-Road, and because of that, to me, it's never going to capture the same magic. Now, if you survive all the way to the end of the circuit without wiping out, you'll get to the trophy screen. You'll see what you placed, what color trophy you won, and what model congratulates you with a kiss. Which, if you were a young boy in the 90s, I can imagine that was better than the actual trophy. Now, one last thing before I wrap up, there was one moment where I took so much damage that I was about to wipe out and the game glitched. The background got messed up, some of the numbers were out of their boxes on the bottom right, and as long as I waited, nothing happened. I couldn't click out of it, it didn't give me a password, it didn't say game over. I just had to cut the game off, turn it back on, and restart. I never encountered that problem again, so this might have been a fluke thing, but I didn't want to just not mention it since I did run into it. But besides that one small hiccup, I gotta say, just like Super Off-Road the Baja was a game I had a blast with, and yes, I'm aware I basically just said Baja Blast. Both of these games were first-time plays, but certainly not last-time plays. I'm going to be revisiting both of them more often in the future, and that I'm sure of. So, would a mediocre gamer like Super Off-Road, the Baja? The answer is yes.